Wow. I don't know if I can follow that really well. She took the words right out of my mouth. Everything I was going to say, I think she just said. But I do want to talk about what happened today during lunch. You know, I have this paper in front of me of the stuff I'm going to read. But I want to talk about what happened at lunch today, because it kind of has to do with everything that's going on. And no, I wasn't talking about level 5 stuff with my students. There's a group of students that I keep every day for lunch, and it's not a punishment. They want to stay indoors with me, to hang out and talk about what's going on this weekend, about Xbox, about this, about that. And I love it. It's like my favorite part of the day, because there's no standard to cover, there's nothing to worry about. I don't have to worry if I'm assessing them correctly, or if they're saying the right things, or if my discourse is proper, or it's just fluid conversation between two human beings, and it's awesome. And so today they're telling me what sucks about school. And I hate phrasing it that way, but this is coming from the kids. And they talk about how they love instruments, but they don't get enough time to play instruments. And the instruments that they want to play are costly. You can't get a violin for $10. You can't get a guitar for $10. So the things that they're hungering for, the things that they're looking for in their lives, they can't afford, and we can't afford to give them. And I think the point that it brought to my mind as the kids were saying this to me is we have to stop thinking about Holyoke as, well, at least it's better than this. At least it's not that. And we have to start thinking in more comparable terms to other cities. Would Long Meadow Public Schools allow what's happening in our schools to happen to their children? Would the parents there allow this? And the answer, I think most of you might guess, is no. So we have to start comparing ourselves to other districts, and I don't mean the testing, because I think everybody in this room knows how I feel about that. I could care less about the testing. It means nothing for my students. Some of my students who score the most poorly on the test are some of the brightest, wonderful human beings on the planet, and I love them dearly. So this idea of, you know, at least our kids have food, at least they have shelter, that's a really criminal way to look at our children. And what I want to give to the students of Holyoke is I want to give them a well-rounded education that's not obsessive of a testing culture. That's what I want for their kids. And the reason I bring this up is because as long as we as a community, and I'm talking about Holyoke right now specifically, but as long as we as a community subscribe to the idea that our students, our children, can be measured by the metric of a test, of one singular test, that tells us how much they've learned in a year or in their lifetime, is just, it's disrespectful to my profession. Because what it says to me, at the end of the day, is that Mitchell Chester and people like him, what they value above all else are numbers. They don't value the children that I stand in front of every single day. And these are students that have hardships that a lot of people could not endure. And you're telling these kids, I don't care about your hardships, I don't care how hard your life is, I want you to come in here and test well. And that's the wrong attitude to take with the future generation of this country. If what we're teaching them is to be rote-minded robots, what are we really getting out of it? We're going to get drones to build machines, and that's great for what? To compete with whom? Everybody talks about global competition. But what I'd like to say to Mitchell Chester is, where has he been for the last 20 years? Where's the state been for the last 20 years? They've been involved in Holyoke, and where are we? We're no better than before they came here. You know, we've been stripped down, bare bone. We used to have close to 800 teachers in Holyoke. We have 488. I am the president of 488 teachers. That's a sad existence. So at the same time that I have this gentleman telling me that my school system sucks, that we're indefensible, that it's all bad here, that my teachers are not putting forth the effort that is warranted for these kids, at that same time we're being underfunded. And that's why I'm glad Viviana was talking about that. Because the idea of underfunding is at the heart of everything. How can we do our best job with so little compared to other people? 488 teachers and stretched out in a sizable district. We're considered a large local by the MTA. But 488 teachers is not much, and that's down from 600 last year. So what direction are we headed in? What more are we prepared to give up in the name of MCAS? Because testing has taken up all of our time, and now MCAS has led to where we are right now. Whether you understand this or not, and that's okay, because I'm willing to explain it to anybody who wants to listen, but it's because of MCAS that we're here. It's not because our teachers are bad, it's because those MCAS scores are not where the commissioner wants them to be. So that metric, it's what's being used to judge us and our students. And I find it offensive. And every teacher in this room right now, and every parent in this room and across the country should be offended by this idea. the fact that we can be taken over because we're not performing well on tests. We have students that miss 80 days of school, and they're still bound to take that test. We have students that just come in, and they have to take the test within 3 weeks of coming in to a new school. Can you imagine being a new kid and have that kind of pressure on you just coming in from a brand new school? And that's what we're facing, but nobody wants to talk about that. And the biggest issue, and the thing that both Baker and Commissioner Chester have already identified, is that poverty is not an excuse. It's almost like they look at us and tell us that we're creating excuses for our children. I've never done that, because I don't pity my children. I don't pity my students. They're great people. They just live different lives. They're in different circumstances than a lot of us are accustomed to. But that's no reason to think less of them. So when we, as we sit here and we think about everything that's happening in the city and the possibility of this takeover, I need you to understand that this city does not belong to Mitchell Chester. I bleed purple, and if anybody who went to Holyoke, you understand what I mean. This city is ours. It's not Mitchell Chester's. So at the end of the day, we have to remember that, and we have to be willing to fight for what is ours. Thank you.